we're going to make Chicken Wellington. We haven't made this in a very long time. It's actually a recipe that I made up, so if it's not traditional, that's okay. We've got our mushrooms and onions. Alton Brown says washing your mushrooms is okay. If it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. We're using cremini mushrooms today because I like the flavor. I feel like it gives more of a mushroom flavor than just button mushrooms. I'm going to thinly slice our mushrooms. Go through them this way. Oops. Hate it when that happens. Okay, we have about 3 cups of mushrooms here. They're going to cook down to probably around a cup. We're going to dice an onion. Ooh. Sometimes if your onions are strong and you stick them in the refrigerator for half an hour or so before you use them, they won't be as potent. And I don't know why. They say a sharp knife helps that too, but this cleaver is pretty darn sharp. And I'm still crying. Okay, so we're going to saute our mushrooms and onions. And I've heard that you're not supposed to saute your mushrooms in anything. It will make them better. You add your oil at the end. So I'm going to give it a try. Salt and pepper. About a half a teaspoon of salt and a quarter teaspoon of pepper. These will probably take about 10 minutes. I came up with this recipe after having beef Wellington with the traditional way with the puff pastry and the liver pate. And I wanted something that I could do with chicken. And you can also use like the Gardein chicken scallopini patties that are actually vegetarian. But this has mushrooms and onions and Dijon mustard and cream cheese because it's not a party unless you have cream cheese. Okay, here we have a package of puff pastry. It comes frozen. You take it out and you let it thaw for 40 minutes before you use it. If it gets a little too soft, you can stick it back in the freezer for a few minutes. If the mushrooms smell actually very mushroomy, I mean, I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but they smell more condensed. But we want to cook out all of the water. And there's still some liquid in here. So we want to cook all of that liquid out because we don't want our puff pastry to get soggy because there's too much liquid in the mushrooms. The water is almost all cooked out of this. And after these become pretty dry, we're going to do the same thing with the onions. Okay, these are pretty dry. They're starting to brown a little bit, which is great. Color is flavor. Okay, we're going to stick these over here. We're going to do the same thing with the onions. I am sauteing the onions dry, like I did with the mushrooms. Add some salt and pepper. Some people say if you put a little bit of baking soda while you're sauteing your onions, it helps them brown, but I feel like it makes them mushy. So I don't do that. But if you like to do it that way, that's perfectly fine. Okay, we're still sauteing our onions. Cooking them down is concentrating the flavor, and you want the liquid to be out of this as well, and you want to get some nice color on here. You're going to add the mushrooms back into the onions. I'm going to taste it, see if it needs any salt or pepper. I think it's very good. We're going to add a half of an 8-ounce package of cream cheese. I use the third fat one because you really can't tell the difference, but you can use whatever you want. We can actually turn the heat off now. This is going to melt. Move it off of the hot burner. Okay, we're going to let this just melt for a minute or two. We're going to incorporate the cream cheese into the mushrooms and onions, or we're going to incorporate the mushrooms and onions into the cream cheese, however you want to look at it. Okay. Now we are going to add 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. So we're going to let this cool for a few minutes. I'm going to clean up my mess and then we'll start on the chicken. Okay, we have 5 half breasts here, and it appears that the butcher already like butterflied them because these clearly are thin breasts. So that's okay. We're going to cut them in half. We're going to cut these into bite-sized pieces. All right, I'm going to wash my hands, and then we'll go to the next step. For this next step, I'm going to use my Ninja grill. You can do this in a frying pan if you want to. You can bake them if you want to. If you have some other kind of grill that you want to use, we're going to use my Ninja grill to cook the chicken breast before we stuff the puff pastry. It's preheating right now. I like to use Nature's Seasoning. It's a good multi-use seasoning product. It's got salt and pepper and garlic salt, or garlic and onion powder. I'm going to brush the bottom of these with a little bit of olive oil so they don't stick to the grill pan. I'm not going to do the top side because I'm not going to turn them over. Our chicken. We're going to cook these for probably, because they're so thin, probably 7 minutes. I have them on the air crisp setting, but it can be on any setting. You just want them to be cooked just through. We're going to take these out. They've been cooking for about 5 minutes. They're starting to brown just a little bit. And for the other ones, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to use the grill function on this one. All right, this should almost be the temperature. Here, we add food, okay? Oh, there we go. There's some sizzle. All right. We're going to cook these for 6 minutes. And I'm going to clean up this mess while those are cooking. We're going to make a little bit of egg wash here. Beat an egg with a tablespoon of water. Oh, all right. We have our puff pastry. We're going to roll it out. We don't want it to be too thick on the chicken. And I don't work with puff pastry very often, so it's probably not going to look perfect. So we're going to take a little bit of our filling, and we're going to stick it on here. Then we're going to take a piece of chicken. We're going to top it like that. Move it over a little bit. Put a little wash on there to seal the bottom of it. And we're going to repeat. This is about 2 tablespoons if you're measuring. I'm not really much of a measurer. I just kind of cook. stretching out the puff pastry so that we can encapsulate the chicken and the mushroom mixture. Now for the smaller ones, we're going to use about a tablespoon of the mixture. Sorry. Okay, this is actually probably a teaspoon of the mixture. And here's a little bite-sized piece of chicken. Wrapping it up. That's kind of a lot right there. Okay, so we're going to put egg wash on these. This is still with the 1 egg with a tablespoon of water. We're going to cook up the rest of the puff pastry because my grandson just likes to eat it. And then it's going to go in the oven at 350 for 20 minutes. Okay, we're going to swap these around. Okay, these are coming out of the oven. They've been in the oven for 20 minutes on 400 degrees. Ooh, pretty. We're going to let these rest for at least 10 minutes because right now they're just molten cream cheese and onions and mushrooms inside there. They're actually boiling out of a couple of little holes. These have been resting for approximately 10 minutes. This one looks pretty. Put it right there. We are going to cut it in half. Now I'm going to taste it. It's still really hot. It's been resting at least 10 minutes, but it's delicious. It's very forgiving because they were all kind of oddly shaped when we put them on the board, but they kind of like even out when they puff out. And these ones turned out bigger than I thought they would. I had hoped that they would be like 1 bite and a toothpick. So that can be adjusted. But I think this would be a really good appetizer for a party. We just have to play with the recipe and make them a little bit smaller. But that's what cooking is. You don't like something, you don't add it. You like something, you put it in. It's all what you like. It's not rocket science. Oh, speaking of liking, please like my video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much. Bye.